Physical communication is important because sometimes only the words cannot express how you are feeling. Okay, so that is why you need to understand the signs and gestures in order to understand the person, and so that effective communication takes place. So that is why physical communication is a very important part of the communication process. Communication based only on words is a little difficult. Why I'm saying it's a little difficult? Because your communication, your uh, whole information or your whole message is only dependent upon the words. So, in case of written communication, it's totally dependent upon the words because there is no physical communication whenever you're writing and communicating. So, that is why it's a little difficult to understand sometimes because you cannot see the person. You might misunderstand, you might have some kind of confusion, you might be doubtful regarding a certain point. So that is why physical communication is a kind of communication which is very important in the process of communication. All right. Okay. Some of the importance is listed here. So I'm going to just explain you one by one. In sporting games, the ability to use and understand signs and gestures is a necessary skill. Coaches and players use them. So, in games and sports, physical communication is a very important part because signs and gestures are very necessary, and the sportsmen, they need to understand the signs and gestures in order to understand what the other person is trying to say, because at times they are not being able to exchange words, and at that time they exchange gestures or signs, and that's how they communicate. So especially in sports, it's very important. Next is in security agencies, it is very important. Why? Because of the nature of their operations, they have to use a lot of signs and symbols to communicate with one another so that the enemies, they don't understand the actual meaning. And so in order to communicate properly, they use different kinds of symbol signs and gestures with their hands and all, and in that way they communicate with one another. And also in mining and construction industries, where extremely loud sounds hinder verbal communication, physical communication is put to maximum use. So, whenever you're not being able to communicate with words, whenever you're not being able to exchange words, what do you use? You use certain expressions, you use your hands, your arms to explain certain things. And in mining and construction industries and other industries where there is a lot of noise and sound, where words cannot be exchanged and understood, so they use gestures and different kind of gestures and expressions to communicate with one another. And words are use of words are very minimal in this kind of situations. Then the last one is counselors and motivational speakers and public relation officers, etc., use physical communication skills when addressing audience. Great orators do not only speak eloquently, but they possess physical communication skills that help draw the attention of the audience. So, whenever you are there on the stage, and whenever you are delivering a speech on the stage, or whenever a counselor is counseling his or her client, his or her patient, and then there has to be some kind of physical communication, there has to be some kind of non-verbal communication in order to grab the attention of the audience, in order to grab, in case of a counselor, in order to grab the attention of the patient or the audience which is hearing the speech. So it is very important to make a connection not only with words but also with the non-verbal gestures, postures, and expressions on the face. So a connection has to be made. When you make a connection, when you make a connection with the help of facial expression, with the help of certain sign gestures, so then it helps to grab the attention of the audience, and especially in these fields. So counselors, motivational speakers, public relations officers, so they have to deal with a lot of people on a regular basis. They have to deliver speeches, they have to deliver speech on a regular basis. So in that case, they have to connect with the audience, they have to connect with the people, and they will not be able to connect only with words. They have to use certain kind of gestures and expressions to make a connection with the audience. All right. Then I had already explained regarding the mining and construction industries where there is a lot of sound. So sometimes it's not possible for the workers to exchange words. Instead of words, they use gestures, they use hand movements and arm movements and facial expressions, and to communicate with one another. So physical communication is put to maximum use in case of this industries where there is a lot of sound and words cannot be exchanged. Then security agencies, they use physical communication because they to in order to in order to uh, protect the information they are sharing with one another, so that the enemies cannot detect the information. So they use a different types of uh, hand movements and different types of arm movements, expressions and gestures to specially communicate with one another. And sporting games, I think you have seen in cricket, in football, they use a lot of signs and gestures, they use a lot of signs and gestures to communicate one another, because um, in that situation they are not able to communicate with the help of words. So they use only physical communication to they use only gestures, they use only symbols to communicate with one another. So in these areas, physical communication is something that is like a very important part of their communication process in order to exchange message and information. Even more than words, they can avoid words, but they cannot avoid the physical, they cannot avoid physical communication, because that's very important for their for that particular uh, career or that particular environment. So that is why they use physical communication, and physical communication is put to maximum use in these areas. And of course, whenever we interact with one another, we talk with one another, definitely there is a physical communication, non-verbal communication takes place. As I had already said in the last classes, I have been telling you every time that yes, along with verbal communication, non-verbal communication also takes place. Now I am explaining you something, you can listen to my tone, you can you can see that there is a fluctuation in my volume and my tone is changing. So all these things are physical communication, all these things are a part of non-verbal communication. So you have to just look at someone, and when you see someone, when you hear someone, you can figure out a lot of things. Even if the other person is not saying a single word, you can figure out a lot of things by just looking at that person. So that is why, when especially in case of face to face communication, non-verbal or physical communication plays a very important role, because you can figure out a lot of things by looking at the facial expressions, the posture, the gestures, and all the other things, and that comes under the category of nonverbal communication. Am I clear regarding this? Okay. So quickly, I would like to teach you one very important thing. that is how to give your introduction. All right, so it's a very important part of your career, even your student life. Okay, so you must know how to give your introduction. When somebody asks you to give your introduction, you must know, you must be able to give your introduction properly. Okay, so what happens is that whenever somebody asks you to give your introduction, you just tell your name and the name of your school and the name of your hometown, and that's it. So, and sometimes the I have seen students who really gets nervous actually when giving their introduction. So it's something that is that you shouldn't be afraid of, that you shouldn't be scared of, because you're telling about yourself and nobody can know you better than yourself. So whenever you give your introduction, you must sound very confident, you must look very confident whenever you are giving your introduction. Why? Because you're telling about yourself, because you're telling about that person whom you know the best. So nobody in the world knows me better than myself. So it uh, it's same for everyone. So you know yourself better than anybody else in the world. So when you give your introduction, you should not be scared, or you should not you know sound uh, low, or you should sound confident, and you should definitely give your introduction confidently. So this is also a part of the interview process. So one of the important questions of the interview, that is give your introduction, tell me something about yourself, which we will be discussing later on. But for time being, I would just like to show you, I would just like to explain you, tell you that how to give your introduction. So if anybody asks you about to give your introduction, or just the question may vary, like tell me something about yourself, give your introduction, introduce yourself. So the words may vary a little, but it's the same thing. You have to give your introduction, you have to tell about yourself. So this is something that is also part of every student's life, because every day, whenever you meet somebody for the first time, whenever there's a new teacher in the class, or whenever you are presenting something, whenever you're delivering a speech or giving a presentation, so you have to introduce yourself, isn't it? So this is very important. So you need to learn how to give your introduction. So basically, I will be going to share this ppt with you all. Just go through it and let me know, and practice. You need to practice it so that you can confidently give your introduction. So you need to start with your name, and you are supposed to use my name, is all right. You're not supposed to use myself. Myself is incorrect. All right, myself is incorrect. It is grammatically incorrect. Myself is not supposed to be used in the beginning of the sentence. So you are supposed to use this old, way of telling your name, that is my name is. You can of course say I am. Okay, you can also use the term I am, but you can also use my name is. So it is the convenient way of telling your name. My name is, then you're not supposed to say Mr., Miss, all right, because the other person can hear you, the other person can see you. So that is why do not use Mr. or Miss before your name. You just start with your name and tell your full name. All right, whenever you're introducing yourself, I've seen a lot of people who only say their first name. So you're supposed to tell your full name, so first name, last name, and if you have any middle name, you're supposed to say everything. So my name is, here it is written as Priya Singh. All right, and whenever you are saying the name, there should be a gap in between the words, okay, in between the first name and the last name. So you need to wait for just a second. Okay, if I have to give my introduction, so how will I give my introduction? My name is Jayashree Deka. So I stopped for a second after I had said the first name, because there are a lot of surnames in this world and we are not aware of all the surnames. So in order to let the other person understand that this is my first name and this is my last name, you need to stop for a while. That means not for, like many seconds. You just have to stop for 1 second. Okay, my name is Jayashree Deka. All right. So there's now the other person can figure it out. Even if the other person doesn't know that Deka is a surname, so the other person will be able to easily figure it out that yes, these are, and this is the first name and this is the last name. Then the next thing you need to say is regarding your hometown. Now, do not give the postal address. It is not at all necessary. What you have to do is you have to just uh, say the name of your hometown. That is the name of your city, the name of your village, or the name of your district. All right. Then qualification. Whenever you're telling your qualification, make sure you tell about your last qualification. Okay, you tell about your highest qualification. Now a lot of students, they are confused regarding qualification and the course they are pursuing. So the course that you are pursuing currently is not your qualification. Once you pass, then only it can be regarded as qualification. But now you are pursuing this course, so you can just say I am a student of B Farm first semester, or you can say that I have completed H's from and the name of your school. In the year, you can also mention the year, in the year 2020 from this school, all right? And you can also mention the name of the course that you are currently pursuing, okay? Then after that, you can add the number of your family members. You can tell about the number of your family members, and there is also one way of telling it. So like if you have a lot of if the number of family members is more, then what you have to do is you have to just tell the total number of family members. And if you live in a nuclear family, then you can just say it in this way: I have my parents and my brother or my sister back at home. And if the number of family members is more, then just stick to the total number of family members. I have 6 members in my family, I have 10 members in my family. Then after that, you need to tell about your hobbies. So my if you're telling about more than two hobbies, then you need to say it like this: my hobbies are. If there is only one hobby, then my hobby is. Okay, then now you don't have to talk about work experience. You don't have any work experience right now. Then you need to talk about any of your interest or any of your strength, your skills. And the last thing that you need to tell is thank you. I am moving a little faster because the meeting will be disconnected at any moment, so I have moved a little faster. I have another class in the afternoon, so I will be again discussing the same. And if you have any doubts, you can tell me in the next class. All right, so that's all for now. I will be sharing the PPT, and that's all for today. Okay, then thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you, ma'am.